So there's this story that I was told growing up as a kid. It's about a little puppet. He liked to lie a lot. His nose would grow. As you all know, stories Pinocchio. What are the chances of this wooden puppet becoming a real boy? Honestly. His dad, I don't know his name exactly, he encouraged Pinocchio, Geppetto, yes. Encouraged Pinocchio. If you believe, you'll become a real boy. And that's what Pinocchio thought of in his head the whole time. He's like, if I believe, I'll become a real boy. And at the end of the story, we all know he becomes a real boy because he believed. Well, the quote I chose was, people need good lies. There are too many bad ones, by Kurt Vonnegut. The story of Pinocchio came to my mind when I read this quote. I believe people do need good lies, and that there are too many bad ones. For example, say there's a terminally ill friend of yours who you know might never have the possibility to walk again, but you want to encourage them, like, oh, just keep trying, you'll walk, just keep trying, just go to rehab. You'll get there, you'll walk one day. But in your head, maybe they won't walk. They need that optimism and that positivity to believe that maybe they will walk again, but it could be a lie. But it's one of those good lies that people need to hear. A bad one I thought of is, say you have a family allowance and they just give you money and they're like, oh yeah, you're good, you can spend whatever you want, and then one day they just, by the way, we're going broke, we're bankrupt. And they knew it all along, they just don't want you to worry until the last second. I believe that's a bad lie, because they should have been honest, say, hey, we should, maybe, what's the word? Save maybe more, reduce our expenses. So that's one of the bad lies I thought of. I agreed with this quote because I do believe the good lies encourage us to accomplish the fears and doubts we have in our own mind. So good lies are what we need to hear, even though they are lies, kind of white lies, I guess, but they still serve a good purpose and they mean well. And that there are too many bad ones that we feel that people are too scared to tell us because they feel we'll get hurt or scared or worried. So in conclusion, I completely agree with this quote. And yes, lying is unmorally unethic, but with good intentions and good morality, something good could come out of a small lie.
She said you didn't get it, right? That's a good start.
Yeah.
Right? See, she learned, right?
Yeah.
Got something from
We know. Well, we know, but that's why we can help. We can help. It's something we should you had another practice.
Well, I think you'd used the Pinocchio story well at the beginning of the speech. You made a good transition to the quote. Your point of view is very clear, so you've got a good start there. There's not really a preview or setup of the structure of what you're going to talk about. I think you just kind of start talking about a good lie, and then you talk about a bad lie. That is the closest you get to having a structure in the speech. And it's not a bad way to distribute those ideas, although of course how the bad lies end up supporting your proposition or your main idea, that's not clear. I think it's kind of filler, and I think you want to maybe find the right context in which the good lie, for instance, is more useful. You had a couple of good examples, but maybe a couple more would be helpful there. So the material's developed pretty well. It just needs better organization. I think you did okay there. On the presentation issues, from the beginning, it sounds like you're using a very quiet voice. What parents used to say, your indoor voice, speaking your indoor voice. Don't forget that it's an audience, and although the acoustics in here are pretty good, your energy level is affecting the audience, and the voice level that you use is part of that energy level. And I think you needed to be a little, turn it up just a little bit so that we don't become passive and lazy in listening to you. Listeners need to be challenged, and sometimes that's a good way to challenge them is to give a little bit more variety in the volume that you're talking about. I thought that it was paced very nicely. It flowed together very smoothly. I didn't see any problems there. Sometimes your facial expressions seem a little bit impassive. I think you could be a little bit more vivid with those kinds of things. Your eye contact, same sort of thing. I think you did a good job for the most part, but could be engaged a lot more. The anxiety, I'm not going to tell the good lie, I'm going to tell the honest truth, as they say. I think your anxiety comes out a little bit in your body. You feel like your feet are a little uncertain. At the very beginning, you look like you're kind of standing sideways and looking down while you're giving the speech. And you did better during the rest of the speech, but whenever you get into one of those points where you're thinking about the next thing or you're a little bit uncertain, I can see it. It's almost like you're withdrawing again, and you make myself smaller, make myself a tinier target. And then once you start talking again, you get better and you're talking that sort of thing. And then it's back to that sort of thing. So I think that that'll be a noticeable thing for you to do something about. All right, well, we've reached the end of the day. We still have 3 or 4 people who worked here today that we need to hear from. Those of you who did your self-evaluations, which you all were supposed to do, please leave them with me before you go. You can just stack them right here if you've got those. There you go. I'll take the outline. Need it is not the same thing as would like to have it, but I would like to have it.
I didn't know if you needed bibliography, but I
There should have been, but don't worry about it because you're not graded on it this time. Because there's not a comparable score for the thank you.
You're going to present next year, so I'm going to give you this.
Yes. Only you're going to get me the complete version of it. There's one online that you can get.
Well, I couldn't.
Everybody keeps telling me this. I'm going to look. If it's there, I'm going to yell at all of you.
No, I found it, but like the layout was weird too, and it wouldn't let me edit it. Like I could show you it.
No, the PDF you can't edit.
Oh yeah, I found the document, but it wouldn't let me edit it. I could. You want me to show you?
Yeah, I got to look. Oh, this is all going on.